Hi, Natalie Matthews here. Today I'm going to talk with you about three specific frameworks that show how technology can be integrated into the classroom. The following three frameworks are going to outline the different levels of technology use in the classroom and how it can enhance learning for students. These three frameworks are the SAMR model, the TIM framework, and the TPACK framework. I am going to begin by talking a little bit about the SAMR model. And so this is a model that really helps educators select, use, and evaluate which kind of educational technology they are using in their classrooms. The SAMR model also is often related to Bloom's taxonomy, with the belief that when learning is more engaged and involved, you are more likely to see significant improvements in student learning. There are four specific levels in this SAMR model. The first two I'm going to talk about fall underneath the enhancement category. The first one is going to be substitution. And so if your learning activity falls under the substitution level, this is where tech acts as a direct tool substitute, but there is no functional change. So an example of that would be you are typing an essay and you just type it in a Word document. Okay, so you just take a handwritten essay and you just type it onto a Word document. No change, just that you're transferring that information onto the computer. The second level of the enhancement category in this model is augmentation. This is where tech still acts as a direct tool substitution, but with that, there is some functional improvements. So an example of this would be instead of typing the essay in the Word document, now you're typing it into a Google Doc. And so you have the capabilities of being able to share that with other people. People can comment on there and give you feedback. It saves it as you go, so there's no worry about really losing it like you could in a Word document. And so just the idea of being able to have that option of people giving you feedback right there on your document. Now as we move up the levels, we're going to go into the transformation. The first level of transformation in the SAMR model is modification. This is where the tech allows for significant task redesign. So an example of this would be taking that essay and creating a blog with it. And really the main change here is instead of just peers and the teacher that's able to comment and give that feedback, you've now opened it up to an outside audience. And so it's a little bit more authentic for the students to be able to hear someone, an outsider, someone that they don't know they're not familiar with, and they don't know like they do their teacher and their peers. And then the final level of this model is the redefinition. This would be the highest level of technology integration. This is where it allows for the creation of new tasks where it wouldn't have been possible without technology. An example would be creating an iMovie with this essay, being able to embed videos or create a digital storytelling project. Okay. So those are the four levels. With this model, some see it as a ladder where you start at the bottom and you work your way up. Others see it more of like a pool with a shallow end and a deep end where you might visit the shallow end during parts of the year. You might go on up to the deep end and do those higher transformation levels, but then you can also make your way down. Okay, so it's kind of just an evolution kind of bouncing around there. Okay, the next model for integrating technology into the classroom is called the TIM framework. This is the further you go across the framework, the less teacher ownership there is of those learning activities and the more student ownership becomes there. So there's more student ownership than teacher. So the teacher's kind of pretty much just releasing some of that responsibility onto the students. Unlike the SAMR model, this framework also addresses 5 characteristics of meaningful learning. Those include active, collaboration, constructive, authenticity, and goal-directed. And so with this framework, you have the level of technology integration really depends on 1, how much the teacher is directing versus a student directing. 2, the amount of student choice in completing those assignments. 3, the level of complexity of those learning activities. 4, the conventional use of tools versus the innovative use. And then finally, 5, the degree in which it applies to the real world. So being able to bring that in. The last framework here is the TPACK framework. And this one's a little bit different than the first two. Rather of thinking of technology use as a hierarchy, so working your way from the bottom to the top, it's placed more of inside of a larger framework of knowledge. With this framework, educators really should have mastery of the content that they're teaching. They should have a really good understanding of the practices that are best used to teach that content, and then also then being able to use technology tools to mesh it all together. And so it doesn't just isolate technology, it brings it within the content and the teacher practices. And so with this model, educators shouldn't be solely reliant on the technology to teach the content. They should have those mastery skills in place as well. With comparing these three, the main similarity I see is really that each model is that they're all reflective tools. They all really allow educators to kind of stop, evaluate what they're doing, and is it effectively integrating technology in their classroom. The differences to me would be what each framework really focuses on. So the TPACK focuses on those 3 different categories, the technological, pedagogical, and the content knowledge, and how those all work together instead of in isolation. The SAMR model really focuses more on the different levels of technology education, where the TIM framework focuses on not only those different levels, but also the planning and the describing and the evaluating of those tech tools. My preferred model really would be the TIM framework. I really do like how the TPACK framework emphasizes the importance of really needed that solid understanding of the content and how to deliver it, as well as the technology involved. But what I like about the TIM framework is that it takes those aspects of the SAMR model and how it models what it means to transform learning versus just enhancing it. But then it also takes it a little bit further into more specific characteristics like collaboration and authenticity. Those specific characteristics I feel make it easier when you sit down and plan. You can kind of take all of that into consideration. And so then finally, I feel like with all these frameworks, the main purpose is really just to be a reflective teacher. As you plan how to integrate technology in your classroom, it's important to always ask, what am I doing? How am I going to do it? And does it transform the learning of my students? Because that would be the ultimate goal, to take maybe something that you've always taught and transform it from a way you used to teach it into something that's innovative and that will incorporate those 21st century skills. Thank you.